Before we begin this podcast, please be advised that the following episode contains language that some listeners may find offensive and inappropriate. The opinions expressed by the host and guests are their own and do not reflect the views of the podcast producers. Listener discretion is advised.
In this week's episode of Voices of a Killer, we talk to Javier Evans, a man convicted of killing his childhood friend in a fight gone wrong. Raised in a crime-ridden neighborhood, Javier navigated a world of drug culture and gang politics that eventually led to a fatal confrontation with his longtime friend. Today, we revisit the fateful night of Antonio Long's untimely death and hear the full story that the news articles didn't publish. Where did the bad blood between Javier and Antonio originate? Who pulled the fatal trigger? Are the witnesses in Javier's case reliable or motivated by their own interests? As we dig into these questions, we'll also unpack the personal choices and systemic challenges that have led Javier to the prison cell he's in today, sadly following the criminal footsteps of his father. So sit back and listen closely to Javier tell his story in his own words in this episode of Voices of a Killer. So Xavier, where'd you grow up?
St. Petersburg, Florida.
Okay.
A neighborhood called Auburn Park.
Yeah. Would you say that was a rough part of St. Petersburg?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, what would you say your family was like when you were growing up? Was it rough? Did you see violence or drugs in your family?
It was actually good. I had my grandmother, I had my granddaddy till he passed. I had his mother till she passed. I had her mother till she ended up passing. I was like 11, 12-ish. I actually had a good childhood. I just chose to be grown at an early age.
Are you saying that you were raised by your grandparents?
No, I was raised by my mother and my grandparents.
Where was your father at?
He had went to prison when I was 5 years old.
Do you remember him before he went to prison?
Yeah.
What was your experience with your dad before he went to prison?
He used to take me out to eat. He used to take me to Olive Garden a lot. Olive Garden when I was a kid in a place called Hop. I used to go there a lot with him. So, I used to spend the night with him and his girlfriend and stuff, so I remember a lot of things. So you do have some memories of him, and what did he go to prison for? Yeah, I don't know. He went to federal prison when I was like 5. He did 10 years. Got out when I was 15. And how old are you now? I'm 27. Is he still in prison, or is he passed away, or what? But no, he's still out. I'll be talking to him every now and then. Yeah. Do you think that had a negative effect on you by your father going to prison when you were so young? Yeah, it kind of did, because then I had to, my grandfather had to take place, and then he died around 2005. So that kind of played an effect on me. Yeah. Did you ever get into any trouble legally before you became an adult? Yeah, I used to get in a lot of trouble when I was a juvenile, fighting in school. Yeah. Why do you think that you were getting in trouble at such a young age at school and fighting and stuff? What would make you take that path? Because really is just I'm getting raised by women. They always at work, and basically I could do what I want. I'm the only boy in the family. There's none but girls, so I got to grow up tough somehow. So I chose to be in the streets because I see the guys with flashy money. Gold teeth, gold chains, nice cars. I liked that stuff. Yeah. Did you actually get into legal trouble before you became an adult, like get arrested? Yeah. My first charge was when I was 9 years old, possession of crack cocaine. Crack cocaine at 9 years old? Yeah. What were you doing with crack cocaine at 9 years old? I actually stole it for one of my big cousin's house. Wow. How much did you steal from him? About a crazy full back in the days. We used to keep them in crazy blue containers, about a whole. Now, so there's two ways to go about this. Did you use it, or did you try to sell it? I actually sold it. One of my cousins he helped me sell it. My first time selling, I was 9, and I had made $50, and I was like blown because I never had a $50 bill at the time. So yeah. It was like, okay, I just made $50 off this. I like this. And right. That day I was just making money, so it was just like, I could do this. Right. So at 9 years old, that's a pretty major drug to be selling. How did you find somebody to buy that from you? Well, the Southside St. Pete, they'll buy anything as long as it's good. Are you saying you kind of lived in an area that just had a lot of drug activity, so you just kind of hopped right in, were able to sell it? Yeah,
Do you feel like making that $50 like that, it kind of hooked you to where that's what you wanted to do?
yeah, pretty much.
Arrested at 9 years old, though?
Yeah. One day I was supposed to go home, and I didn't. I stayed out all the way until 1 in the morning, and my mama called the police, and they came to the neighborhood looking for me, and they eventually caught me. But I had a bag full of snacks, the knickknacks and stuff, because I was high. And the officer was like, "Can I search you?" I'm like, "No." It was like, "Well, I have to." And they searched me in one of my pockets. I had an M&M. It was a king size, and it was full of drugs.
Yeah.
They took me to jail.
What did that officer say whenever he caught a 9-year-old boy basically with such a hard drug?
Yeah, and he was suspicious where I got it from and stuff like that. Kept asking me questions, and I was like, "Man, it doesn't matter. I found it."
What did your mom say about all that?
She told me to take me to jail.
Told the cops to take you to jail?
Yeah, pretty much.
Now, at such a young age, when they bring you to jail, did they actually take a photo of you and everything?
Yeah, fingerprinted me. I was a juvenile, yeah, so they fingerprinted me. It was the Jackson and the juvenile system. So they fingerprinted me, they took my picture, and I sat in a little holding room for a couple of hours and ate juice and crackers every hour, 2 hours, until they let me go the next day, and then I went to court, and then they took me to JDC from court. They kept me.
How long did you stay in jail? Did you get out that night and your mom come got you?
I did 21 days.
21 days?
Yeah.
In a jail cell at 9 years old?
Yeah, in a juvenile jail cell at 9.
Were you around other juveniles?
Yeah, a lot of us.
Was that kind of scary for you, or it didn't bother you, or what?
At the time, I used to miss home. I didn't want to be away from home, so it didn't bother me. But as I got comfortable, I ain't gonna say comfortable, got used to going to jail and knowing to get out. He's just like, all right, I'm in here to 21 days from now, or I go to a program and do 6 to 8 months and get out.
Xavier, whenever I was 9 years old, I definitely never even really, I don't even know if I heard of crack, or I definitely didn't see it. I didn't really have much experience. That's a pretty big, vast difference between you and I. It's pretty abnormal for a 9-year-old boy to have crack cocaine on him.
At 9 years old, when most boys were out riding bikes or playing video games, Javier Evans was in a juvenile jail cell for selling crack cocaine. In large part, we can break Javier's early troubles with the law down to the challenging environment he grew up in. In his inner-city neighborhood in St. Pete, crime was rife, infrastructure crumbling, and everyday folks battled to make ends meet. Stuck in a dismal life of poverty that offered him few opportunities and grim prospects, Javier was quickly drawn to the easy money of dealing drugs. His father had spent most of his son's childhood in prison, leaving behind a painful vacuum in Javier's life. With no father figure to keep Javier in check, the young boy was easily drawn into the allure of street life, the wealth and possessions flashed around by high-profile gang members. After his first stint in juvie, and with a black mark against his name, Javier had no intention of backing away from the lifestyle he'd had a taste of. In fact, he found himself living up to his father's criminal legacy. We'll hear more about that after the break.
So after you sold that amount that you stole from your cousin or whatever, how did you get the next round to sell again? And how long after 9 years old?
I used to always be around the older guys, and they used to go in to we used to have a trap house. And I used to always go in there and play the video game and smoke and stuff. So they used to be like, "Yeah, man, gee, man, what's up, man? You gonna make you some money today or what?" "Yeah, man, how much I need?" $200. And
Yeah. Hey, explain to me what a trap house is.
Basically like a drug house.
Yeah. So after this little episode where you're so young, 9 years old, and you get to experience juvenile detention and you get out and everything, did that deter you at all?
A little bit, but not really.
Just made you more cautious?
I was young. It made me think about a lot of stuff. I used to want to do stuff just to get away. If I do it, I have to get away.
Yeah.
So it used to be like, I don't want to go to jail, keep going to jail, but I have my days I get caught doing nothing.
Yeah.
Like, it was just the petty stuff. So it was like the major stuff didn't get caught for. The petty stuff I always got caught for. So it was like when I do certain stuff, I used to be cautious.
Yeah. Looking back, do you wish that you would have never messed with crack and selling drugs and stuff?
Certain stuff, yeah.
Or do you feel that's kind of like your culture and that's something that you enjoy doing?
I wouldn't say it's a part of my culture, but it's a part of the environment that I grew up in. It's like, but as I got older, I realized I can't. You only do things so much. You feel me? You can only do so much, and then you get tired of doing it. It was like I gave up on that. I started working. I started doing good and stuff. Started working. I started selling drugs when I was 15, but I still got into selling marijuana and stuff like that. Then it just got to the point I stopped working. You know what I'm saying? Just start working.
So did you ever contemplate about how the drugs you were selling might be like ruining people's families, ruining their lives and stuff like that?
Yeah, because I had cousins that did it and knew people that did it.
And it pretty much destroys their lives. Did that pretty much, you just kind of, well, that's their issue, not mine, and just continue to sell it?
Yeah, I really didn't know at the time because like I said, I was young. I didn't know any better, and wasn't nobody teaching me. So go for what you know. You learn from your mistakes.
Yeah. So how did you do in school? You're messing with all these drugs and stuff. Did you make decent grades, or did you flunk out, or what?
Oh, I made good grades in school. I used to go to school and do all my work. And after I'm done, I used to be so fast at doing my work. By the time I'm done, everybody else still testing it. So I used to be like a class clown and stuff. So being funny and stuff. I used to get work. I used to real good grades.
Did the teachers like you?
Yeah, I had a couple teachers that loved me.
So did you end up graduating high school?
No, I actually dropped out when I 11th grade because my grandmother had died and my mom started working. I got 3 little sisters. I had to make sure we all eat at night. So I got back in the street, started doing crazy stuff, robbing people, and just wasn't using my head at the time.
Now you say you were robbing people. Did you ever get arrested for like robbery and stuff?
No, never. Because
Yeah.
I looked at it as a job. It was a job to me. So something that you're good at, you're not going to get in trouble for it. So I did that until my mom got her head back right on the right track from losing my grandmother, and then eventually benched off and got with my first child mother and started staying with her and her family and made another family. The rest was just history. I was just hooked on doing stupid stuff, robbing people, stealing cars. And then I got shot when I was 18. Then that really turned up.
What happened when you got shot?
A week before I got shot, allegedly, they said I shot someone. But I did. It was just, my name got brought up because of certain stuff that goes on in the neighborhood. People just be talking. So the detectives came and saw me, talked to me and stuff like that. And they told me, don't come outside on Martin Luther King Day because we don't want to come to a homicide scene and see you up under the sheet. And I said, I don't. In my head, I'm like, I don't do anything. I'd be home now with my child. So I went out anyways and I got shot on Martin Luther King, and it changed my life.
So wait,
look at life differently.
So are you saying that police officer said he basically predicted you'd be shot on a specific day?
Yeah, and it actually happened.
Wow.
When I was in the hospital, he actually came and saw me. He told me, I'm working your case, so how are we going to do this? I know you're not going to tell me. I was like, I don't know who shot me. I was just an innocent bystander.
And most people know there's a street code out there. Even if somebody tries to hurt you, you just don't talk to the cops. Do you actually know who shot you?
No, I actually don't. I was actually an innocent bystander, but it was just like a life learning lesson.
The day Javier was shot on Martin Luther King Day was a stark indication of how far he'd fallen. Although still young and earning good grades at school by now, Javier was deeply immersed in criminal activity. It all began out of necessity, as Javier had to support his family financially after his grandmother's death. But over time, he progressed to harder crimes such as stealing cars and robbing homes, and this cemented his reputation on the streets. Getting shot was a pivotal moment for Javier, a shock to his system that suddenly highlighted the violent world he was in.
Eerily, a local cop who had taken a personal interest in Javier had predicted his shooting weeks earlier. The incident seemed to be a warning about the dangers of the lifestyle Javier led, suggesting that if he continued down this path, he would end up dead or in prison. Near-death experiences can often provide a sudden new perspective. Did Javier attempt to change his course?
We'll explore that in the next installment of Voices of a Killer.
If you want to find out what happens next, right now, you can sign up at patreon.com/voicesofakiller. There you can find bonus content, early access, ad-free listening, and access to our chat community. So go to patreon.com/voicesofakiller to sign up now. Your support is what keeps us passionate about bringing these stories to you. That's a wrap on this episode of Voices of a Killer. A big shout out to Sonic Futures, who handled the production, audio editing, music licensing, and promotion of this podcast. If you want to hear more episodes like this one, make sure to visit our website at voicesofakiller.com. There you can find previous episodes, transcripts, and additional information about the podcast. Lastly, if you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Your feedback helps us improve and reach new listeners. Thank you for your support, and we can't wait to share more stories with you in the future. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Toby, and we'll see you next time on Voices of a Killer.